Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll begin in 3 minutes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to the 2024 EBRD Annual Meeting and Business Forum, or as we say in Armenian, Bari Ekak. My name is Christina Ayanian, and it's wonderful to be here in Armenia, in my homeland. As a first-generation Armenian American, I am deeply moved by the significance and the impact of this event for Armenia and its people. This conference here in Armenia for the first time is more than just a gathering of financial institutions and economic minds. It is a testament to Armenia's growing role on the global stage. And to me, it bridges my heritage to the future of endless opportunities, making it a fertile ground
20 minutes of this panel, but okay, let me just try to jump in. And Mitro, if you hear us, and please jump in whenever you're ready with the connection. So, look, obviously when the war, a large-scale invasion started in 2022, everyone was taken by, there was a moment of sideration, right? And no one is really prepared for an event like this. But in fact, I'd like to say, the war in Ukraine started in 2014 with the invasion of Crimea and the invasion of Donbass. We were then much less prepared than we were in 2022. So what happened in 2014 is we were thinking through how do we help the Ukrainian economy. There was a huge drop in the GDP. And EBRD is an investment bank fundamentally. We support projects. And only through projects do we bring transition to our economies and so on. And then we thought about it and we said, but if we don't help our clients through this difficult time, there'll not be projects to finance in the future, right? There won't be projects because the clients will be dead in the meantime, right? So we said in order to preserve the mandate of the EBRD, the transition of the economy, we need to provide them with short-term finance. Because ultimately keeping the financial sector going means keeping the clients of the financial sector going. So we devised these products at the time, which we used then in 2022. The first thing we decided was to keep the trade finance lines open. Because at the time, when the war started, and we saw the same thing in the COVID time, commercial banks tend to close down their financing lines for trade finance for their partner banks, which means that there's no fuel that can be imported, there's no medication that can be imported, there's no food that can be imported. So and as EBRD, we decided to keep our trade finance lines open. We maintained, electricity running in Ukraine that way. We maintained farmers' ability to plant and sow their fields and buy seeds and so on and so forth. That was the first thing that we decided literally in the first few days after the large-scale invasion. Then we talked to our clients. Our clients were very, very quick to react, and we have Private Bank on the screen, but others as well, calling us and asking us, and we were asking them, well, how can we support you? And very, very clearly, very immediately, after they had dealt with the initial shock of having to move their data in the cloud and protect their infrastructure, then they said, we don't need liquidity, but what we need is risk sharing. So we developed a risk sharing facility for them, which is something we had not done before, for them to create portfolios of clients that they finance and then that we take the risk of. And that helped continuing financing the economy throughout the war. Today, the Central Bank of Ukraine tells us that around a quarter of the SME lending in the country is supported one way or another by the EBRD. So that's a lot of support for Ukraine. And in the meantime, we've also, because we are not just a bank that works with the financial sector, we've also, of course, lent money directly to some of the large utilities, infrastructure companies, the railways, the Ukrenergo, and so on, to keep the lights on, to keep the population being able to be to have heating and electricity. So it's a complete response. Obviously, we are not a relief agency, so we won't provide kind of the immediate response. It's not really our mandate, and we're not geared up for it. But by keeping the relationship going. And again, the experience from 2014 helped, because what we saw in 2014 as well is we lost some money, but the money we lost was mostly not due to financial difficulties. We lost money in places that had been invaded. When your plant is bombed, not much you can do. We had a power plant, a wind farm in occupied territory. That didn't work out too well. But the wind farms in non-occupied territory continued operating. And so we knew going in that there was a level of risk that we could take. And after a few months of the war, we decided that we were willing to take 50% of the risk on our balance sheet, and our shareholders supported the remaining 50%. No one else did that. Everyone else said, I need 100% coverage, I need 90% coverage. The fact that EBRD had the experience of the war in 2014, had one of the largest experiences in Ukraine, having been the largest investor in the country for many years, helped us make this courageous decision, which worked very well because we haven't had losses from our Ukraine portfolio since the war started.
That's incredible And we have our panelists joining virtually. Dimitri, it's a great segue to you. Ukraine did have a business continuity plan since 2014. How did this go to market?
Good afternoon to sunny everyone. It's a great pleasure to speak with you. Unfortunately, through the Zoom, but what we have right now, it's only such way of possibility to communicate with you. It's a very good question. I would be happy even to describe about even not only BCP plans, about some other comprehensive steps that we undertook to ensure the operational capacity of the banking system and to maintain financial stability, particularly in the face of challenges posed by the ongoing war. It's great that Malish talked that 10 years ago we started to draw BCP plans, and it definitely helped us to prepare for the war. And even today I want to explain and to show with the examples about the steps that the National Bank and the whole financial system did previous two and a half years in order to respond to such crisis and how we stabilize the situation. So if you don't mind, I can jump into more details.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Thank you. In the initial phase, our primary objective was to stabilize the economy and provide panic within the financial sector. You can imagine what was around the streets and but the financial system needs to show their example with the example of flow and functioning the banks and payment system, while also we also need to address the immediate needs to defense sector financing and critical budget expenditures. To achieve this in the first half of the year after the war begins, we start correct and realize our BCP plan. We updated BCP continuity plans to account for the unique challenges posed by the full-scale war that's involved identification of critical process, critical personnel, and IT system, and implemented the measures to support them in this situation. Also, we provide liquidity support and introduced mechanisms for quick and secure liquidity support for banks to maintain the financial stability during these turbulent times and also to fulfill all clients' operations without any delays. The third step was exchange rate stability. We maintain control over the foreign exchange market and fixed exchange rates and imposed tight restriction on cross-border transaction. The fourth is regulation flexibility. We recognize that the needs of the bank during the time was to focus on continuous operation to provide customer support. That's why we postponed certain regulation requirements, stress tests, SREP, some reporting obligations, etc. Cash circulation. To support this initiative, we ensured the bank had access to the unlimited supply of cash and encourage them to use cashless payments. But this issue was not only about local market. We need to support forced migrants, to assist forced migrants. We collaborated with the 10 European central banks to execute a project to exchange hryvnias of Ukrainian citizens abroad to any foreign currencies in EU. It also, all these issues was helped by some IFIs, especially EBRD. EBRD also helped us with the ideas how to structure our reactions. Also, we need to pay focus that we had before some Russian capital in Ukraine, especially in the banking system, in NBFI sector. We revoked banks with Russian state capital and imposed restriction to prevent the residents of the aggressor country to make any operations in Ukraine, to increase significant stakes or even withdraw them from holding any executive position in Ukraine. It was the our first reaction, but we need to not forget about significant cyber attacks during the time. And the bank system remained resilient, and the EU coordinated response to the cyber attacks. But all of the banks in Ukraine worked 24/7 during this period. And the result of the fast early reactions was that the customer deposits continued to flow into the banks despite the war. It was a surprise to us also. And the banking system helped to prevent the panic. So it's about the BCP, it's the fast reactions, the fast half of the year
It really
full-scale aggression.
It really is a collective effort and a great blueprint for other countries to follow and learn from as well. Larisa, turning to you, Privatbank is the largest payments provider in the country, and we all remember the scenes of millions of people fleeing the country in the early days of the war. But in the backgrounds, a lot of work was being done to ensure that Ukrainians could access their own personal finances in countries that they were seeking refuge, for example, like in Poland, Hungary, Romania. How did this happen?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to be here today and to speak about the resilience of financial system in Ukraine. First of all, few words about Privatbank. It is the largest financial institution of the country, state-owned, nationalized in 2016, prior having almost 30 years of market experience. We are predominantly retail bank, serving 19 million of retail customers and being home bank for 60% of SME of the country. We service as a bank over 50% of all payments and operates 1,000 branches all over the country. Of course, no one expected the war. We neither didn't believe in the full-scale invasion. However, already in the end of 2021, we started to work on our crisis plan. And frankly speaking, it was very useful. We utilized this plan from the very first days and hours of the war, and it let us make decisions without excessive bureaucracy on the circumstances that constantly change. We have established crisis team consisting of the representative of the board, our regional directors, security, HR, communication department. We met every day. And during the first days, we met even 3 times per day in order to decide whether to open the branches or not, to provide cash collection on the route or not, people relocation, accommodation, very many daily issues that depended on the security and safety situation in the country. And the group was authorized to make a decision about many things in order to, first of all, ensure safety and people and our employees, and second, to ensure availability of banking services to our clients. You know, in the emergency situation, our clients need only basic services like account opening, card issuance, payments. For this, we needed to keep our branches open whenever it was relatively safe. In the period of crisis and panic, you can imagine that cash is a king. And during the first days and weeks of the war, people were queuing around ATMs to withdraw the money, and we had to guarantee cash availability in the system, cash delivery, ATM loading, in order to ensure stability of the banking system. So I would like also to stress that all these things, operation of the banking services is only available when critical data and critical infrastructure are available. And it was clear for us in the very first days of the war when the and at that time, we made a decision to migrate our critical data and critical infrastructure, critical IT systems and solution to the cloud. After we get the permission of the central bank, together with Amazon, we did this migration in a very short period of time, less than 2 months, and without much interruption, in such a way ensuring the stability of the system and availability of all services to our clients. Another challenge that I'd like to highlight is this new lending and availability of credit limits for our private individuals. From the very first days of the war, we decided to keep available the credit limits to our private individuals clients to support them during these first days of the war. And it was the right decision. It did not create the negative consequences for the bank, and we thank our client for their responsibility towards their bank's obligation. But not only existing limits we maintain, we also decided to start new lending. And it was very much unexpected decision if we are talking about orthodox bankers, because absolutely the wartime is a red zone and no one produces new loans in such a situation. However, being a state-owned bank, we realize that we need to support the economy. Actually, Ukraine is a country where agriculture is an industry which plays significant role and creates significant portion of GDP and export proceeds. It was a spring, and agriculture started and needed financing to start sowing campaign. Logistics was destroyed, and even those who had stocks were not able to exchange the stocks for cash to start sowing campaign. So security, food security of the country was at stake. And we decided to start lending to agriculture industry. The level of uncertainty was huge. Condition of the customer business, availability of collateral, not saying about the value of the collateral, a lot of unknown. And critical factors that help us to make this decision to maintain new lending to agriculture was the availability of state support via risk-sharing program. This instrument was rather new at the time. It was developed just before the war, but it was developed just in time. And we started actively use this instrument that covered up to 80% of the losses on a portfolio basis to provide new lending. We were focusing on the SME lending, providing small tickets up to 150,000 per customer without collateral, just based on the surety of the owners and based on the risk-sharing program with the country. So we had already very much digitalized lending process, and that helped us to produce a very big amount of the application, considering that we were the first lender on the market at that period of time, and for some period of time, we remained the only one lender on the market. So it helped us to process a lot of application, and we generated quite a big portfolio in agriculture at that period of time. Up to $1 billion we are produced during 2022, and the value and the quality of this portfolio is very good. In a year, it demonstrated just 2% NPL, which is rather prudent for wartime. And finally, I would like to highlight another aspect of support of our customers in all segments, from retail to business client. This is the decision that we made in the first days of the war to provide credit holiday for all our customers, not asking them to pay any interest payment, any principal payment, and even we cancel any interest payment accrual for first few months of the war. We provided this possibility for first 3 months, and it has given our customers the time to adapt to new reality. And also it was necessary to us this period to develop programs for different kinds of our customers and to implement these different programs. So, thus, in 3 months, we are ready with the proposal of digital restructuring to our clients, so they
could do it online without visiting our branches. And really it helped us to preserve the quality of our portfolio and also to help our customers. That was the first reaction to the emergency. Later on, of course, we met other challenges, and this is a long and interesting story.
One of the examples that you mentioned is Konstantin Moroz, who's a small business owner keeping the lights on in Ukraine, and we can hear Konstantin's story right now.
Тінні обстріли на початку війни були. І це так все змушувало задуматися, чи продовжувати бізнес, чи ні. Коли почалися вимкнення світла, задумали, що треба якось його звідкись брати. І вирішили в цей ринок зайти, зайнятися генераторами, щоб забезпечити наших клієнтів і нових наших клієнтів, щоб люди були з світлом. Дуже багато руйнування енергетичної інфраструктури, яку майже неможливо відновити, яка затрагує і захід України, і південь України, і кругом нам потрібно на виклики їздити до людей, обслуговувати генератори, і нам дуже потрібно був автомобіль, який нас не підведе, і можна буде надіятись на дальній відстані. Приватбанк запропонував нам підтримку у вигляді 20% кешбеку при покупці автомобіля.
Приватбанк почав працювати з ЄБРР, починаючи, підписав договір про співпрацю з серпня 2023 року. То, як я сказав, загальна програма – це 240 мільйонів євро. Профінансували в першому транші. Це була загальна сума 4,4 мільярди сума фінансування. І це більше, ніж 2400 клієнтів. І ця програма полягала в можливості спрощеного отримання швидкого рішення, тобто без якихось додаткових бюрократичних аспектів швидко отримати рішення та отримати необхідні генератори, які допомогли зберегти функціонування малого бізнесу, починаючи від аптек, магазинів і так далі.
Підтримувати потрібно, тому що це все вноситься кошти в бюджет нашої країни, яка воює, і їй потрібно за щось воювати. А без бізнесу, який це буде вливати ці кошти, ми можемо програти. Так що тут ми повинні працювати.
That was great and really paints a great picture as to the incredible work that EBRD and their partners have done in Ukraine. I'd also like to remind everyone, if you would like to join the discussion and ask your questions, we'll be answering questions towards the end of the panel. Please scan the QR code that will appear behind us or visit slido.com and enter code 3070309. I'd now like to turn to Turkey. The earthquakes that struck southeastern Turkey in February 2023 caused widespread devastation, destruction, and loss of life. And as we all know, financial institutions aren't at the forefront of people's minds when crises occurs. But we have a video showing how Denizbank responded in this situation.
Şu an Burada deprem oluyor tekrar.
Betty, like in Ukraine, DenizBank responded to really serve your customers and the wider region. Can you discuss how this happened and what actions you had to take?
Sure. Am I connected well, first of all?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just a couple of words on, the disaster. So Turkey's population and its economic resources are located at the first degree earthquake risk zone, unfortunately. And the recent one that we had wasn't last year, February 2023. We had 2 earthquakes consecutively in Kahramanmaraş, which caused catastrophic results. And the government declared the level 4 state of emergency, which includes a call for international assistance as well as mobilization of all national forces. And what it means for us demographic-wise and economically, it's 11 cities of Turkey are affected out of 81. It's close to 10% of our GDP. We're talking about the region. It's 16% of population. We're talking about 14 million people here, and 17% of total agricultural land and 15% of agricultural GDP. So it's quite huge. We lost, the official figures are, we lost 50,000 people, and 306,000 buildings were affected. Some of them totally destroyed, some of them had affected in general, I should say. And as far as the banking system is concerned, we have 1,050 branches in 11 cities, all Turkish banks. And the regions have a share in loans around 10% and in share on deposits 5.5%, $40 billion and $26 billion we are talking about here. So as far as DenizBank is concerned, we have 2.1 billion customers in the region, loans and deposits close to $1 billion in terms of numbers, 525,000 credit cards and 195,000 risk customers, credit customers we have in the region. So we are one of the banks in Turkey that having established presence in the 81 cities of the country. So therefore we had 65 branches in the region. And as you can see in the video, 14 of them are totally demolished and quite a few of them are highly damaged, I should say. And we lost 3 of our employees. So how we dealt with the disaster in general? So first of all, employees come first. We had around 1,000 staff, and but staff means for us together with their families. So 3,000 people that we needed to look after. First of all, this is how we look at it. The wounded, injured employees, we made sure that they were taken care well in the hospitals. Our main branch, the city center branch in Kahramanmaraş, were somehow in very much good shape. So we use it as a coordination center for gathering food and supplies, which we distributed to our employees, to the local people also. We regularly distributed, 3 courses of meal every day for quite some time. And we provided housing support for our employees. Immediately we took the very much, affected ones, the ones that the houses are demolished, to the hotels in other cities. But other than that, we try to find them houses in the region. If and provided them rent, furniture, and cost of moving support. If not, we provided them container houses. And currently, still some of our staff live in the container houses in the region. Of course, I mean, quite a big number of people live in the container houses in the region still. We provided support to our staff, customers, and communities in the region. More than $10 million we donated as Denizbank only. And so hopefully we made our employees feel that they are a part of a big Denizbank family. I guess these are the times when you feel lucky that you work in a company with a proper corporate culture, I should say. And coming to the customers, and actually, so what we did many things. I mean, where should I start? I mean, we paid significant efforts, of course, to ensure uninterrupted banking services and strong support for the key sectors, especially SMEs, agriculture. We are the leading bank in agribusiness among private banks, and tourism. So these were the main segments for us, and we wanted to support SMEs mainly. We immediately sent mobile branches to the cities and built ourselves container branches in order to support our clients for their daily banking needs, actually. And to the customers, actually, the death of the customers who lost their lives actually were completely written off. We took actions in the number of installments, debt postponements. We did the framework of the legal regulations, and the total number of loans that we postponed was 664,000 in terms of number. So outstanding debts were restructured on a long-term phasis up to 48 months without any interest rate increases whatsoever. And so several other actions also taken for NPL classification, credit cards, credit guarantee programs, and on the checks as well. So necessary actions were also taken that the credit cards in the region could only be used by their owners. I mean, all cards were closed for use without a password, and we opened it for contactless use after password verification. We tried to prevent card victimization of our customers, so instant counts were quickly dispatched to the region, to our customers. I mean, we did IT developments immediately for the branches in the earthquake region and provided these customers with flexible financial solutions, actually, with special campaign codes and restructured favorable conditions for them. So you would expect that there would be an NPL increase in the bank's portfolio, especially in this region. However, people were tending to pay their loans, as you were just telling in the Ukraine case. So they didn't want to hurt their credit bureau score. So we are really thankful for their, responsible behavior on that side. So as Denizbank will continue to be there for our clients and support them with their financial needs. But I just want to mention the technological infrastructure of Denizbank, and because this enabled us to do all of this. I can say that the earthquake happened at around 4:20 in the morning, and up to 5 o'clock, even before 5 o'clock, we knew what happened in each of our branches at the headquarters, how much they were harmed, thanks to our state-of-the-art security survival center infrastructure, which we established years back. All the branches were connected to this network, and we observe and watch them 7/24. Also, apart from that, actually, if the branch suffers any kind of a disaster that's this kind of, we do receive warning signals, actually, from the system. So I should say that we felt the region since the moment of the disaster in so many ways. And for sure, our technological infrastructure and digital track record, which we have been building for years, helped us in coping this kind of a big magnitude of crisis, I should say. So some of our digital capabilities, I just want to point out those. I mean, 1.3 billion customer touches we have on our digital channels each year. Currently, 97% of our transactions are made through self-service channels. with straight-through processing, no human touch, actually. In our mobile banking, we have 600 types of financial transactions that we can handle currently. We already integrated investment banking products to our digital world. We have end-to-end digital loans with automated marketing strategy. And digital onboarding has started in Turkey, where nobody needs to come to the branch physically. And you can say that currently 92% of our account openings are made through end-to-end digital channels. I should definitely say that we supported our customers following their digital footprints. And digitalization helps you cope with the challenging needs of new emergencies.
It's safe to say innovation, collaboration, and long-term planning are key.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, moving to the situation here in Armenia, David, you and your team have worked very similarly in providing immediate financial relief, but also ensuring long-term sustainability for the bank and your customers. Can you walk us through that?
Thank you. I would start voicing the words of Francis at the beginning, that for the last, I think, 10, 15 years, we have passed numerous types of crises, of course not of the same magnitude as we have it today, but all the way. And those crises taught us a lot. We learned a lot. I think one of the first lessons that we learned, though I think it's in every textbook, but we were not enough wise to read from textbook only, was the 2008-9 crisis. Everybody says cash is the king, especially during crisis, but what goes after that expression is much more important. Cash is the king when you start spending during crisis. If you just freeze your lending, if you don't spend your money, it's not king. It's vice versa. We, for example, made that type of mistake in 2009. Our bank was #1 bank in the country in 2009. We stopped essentially operations, though there was a lot of cash. By 2010, within a year and a half or two, we were #6. To regain that market back, we need another 9, 10 years. Why I say this? When there is this saying, when you are going through hell, keep going, never stop. And this is not a part of corporate social responsibility, or not as much of corporate social responsibility. This is an issue of financial institution doing business and generating profit. If there is crisis like this, you should continue working, you should continue providing lending, and that is in your own capitalistic profitability, I don't know, whatever you call it, interest. If you don't do it, you will have problems. This is #1 lesson that I think is important for everybody. I think the crises that we've passed for the last 10 years, I think we've seen almost everything, even pandemic. Yes, everybody in the world was in home. Nobody could think that we would introduce this kind of things as, I don't know, freezing the repayments, interest payments, and all of that stuff. But that is something that provided us good lessons for being prepared to much worse crises that we encounter today. And that is very important for everybody to understand. When the crisis of the magnitude that we see comes, the most important thing is the speed of your reaction, speed of your action, speed of your pouring out water onto the fire. Because when there is fire, you should not start thinking about, I don't know, what the environmentalist will say, sorry for this, what is it will be wet on my sofa or my TV, and so it's a fire. You should extinguish the fire and then start to build up the house from zero. And this is especially in these types of crises when the customers, small and medium businesses, retail customers start to suffer because of a very big crisis, very big problems. You have to be with them, you have to help them, because at the final end, that will pay off into your business for sure on the next part of the cycle. And at the final end,
as soon as you can. Obviously, when the fire is out, you put out the fire, and it's been a humbling experience for EBRD because in IFIs in general, we are used to take our time to do things right, and speed of response has never been a priority historically. So it was on big display in the COVID crisis where, in fact, we sat down with our risk colleagues, with our impact colleagues, with our environmental colleagues, and so on, and we said, okay, we need to respond quickly. So that's not to be discussed. There's no negotiation about the speed. The negotiation is about how do we ensure quality still. So for example, with our risk management colleagues, we said, first wave of response, only existing clients. Because these are clients. We know we've done due diligence, we've onboarded, and so on. So this is going to be easy. We can essentially write a check to existing clients with a much, much faster response time than onboarding new clients. Then, fortunately, the crisis didn't last that long, but then we would have been able to then onboard new clients. So that's the first thing you do. But then you need to think of the future. And for example, in Turkey, this is an illustration that you need to be agile, but you also need partners. And our partners were extremely agile. The earthquake struck on a Monday morning, London time. By the end of the day, Arto, who is now in this room, had already called all of our partner banks in Turkey and knew what the needs were. Right? So we could put together a framework for 600 million of financing for Turkish banks that was approved a few weeks later in the board of directors of EBRD. Because the clients were there, they knew that they wanted to participate. It's not just us that had good feelings and the willingness to go ahead. But this facility that we put together for Turkey actually had two parts. One part was the short-term finance. You keep the economy going, give a holiday for the companies that have stopped operating so that they can continue paying salaries for the next 3-6 months while there is an interruption of business. And then there is the reconstruction part, which is like the more classic 3-year type of loan for investments, for rebuilding back better, making a green house instead of a polluting house when you rebuild. And so this facility was a package integrating the short-term part and the longer-term part. Now, on Ukraine, we are also getting ready for the recovery. I think there is recovery and there's reconstruction, that is actually already starting. We see investment. We see clients that continue to invest, especially in the parts of the country that are further from the front line. Don't forget, it's the largest country in Europe. I don't know how many times it is Armenia, but I know it's 1.25 times France. There's a lot of Ukraine that has actually not seen any bombing or any military activity. And there, farmers continue to work, businesses continue to operate, as we saw from the video. And so these businesses have investment needs, and so that's how you prepare for the reconstruction. And the last thing to say is, uncertainty is with us and will continue to be with us. And that's one key strength of Armenia, but also of many of the economies where we work. The banks we have in these countries are much, much, much more agile and much, much less prone to, say, panic and, closing down the house and, than the banks we see in advanced markets. Because, uncertainty and crisis is the day-to-day business of David, and of Larissa, and of, Beryl and others. And so when a crisis arrives of that nature, you have reactions of people that are trained, essentially, that have the experience to react to the crisis. When we're talking about Ukraine again, every time someone comes to me and starts the conversation, I've got a great plan for Ukraine, I want to invest when there's a peace agreement. I remind them that peace was signed between the Soviet Union and Germany in 1991. So if you wait until 1991 to start rebuilding Germany, you're a bit late to the party, aren't you? Right? So we have to be able to start rebuilding Ukraine when there is a ceasefire, or even before in some areas, with the risk that it's a ceasefire, so it might not last. Okay, and so there is risk involved. But if you want certainty in life, then you're going to be too late.
Higher risk, higher reward. Thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists. And now we'll switch over to our Q&A session. And we encourage you to submit your questions using the QR code that will appear behind us or going to slido.com and entering code 30 70309. So our first question, is there a trade-off in these emergencies with wider business or development goals like climate considerations or reaching underserved groups?
One more for me. So there is, yes, there is a trade-off. And by the way, you see it in the EBRD, for example, investment numbers. In 2020, we had a huge COVID response, and we had a relatively low green percentage of our financing. We had a dip in our green ratio, which was, of course, a concern. But we made a conscious decision that speed and broad response to the needs of the economy was going to be more important. So you do. What you should not do, obviously, is compromise on fundamental standards like the integrity of your clients or the credit quality of your clients. But indeed, we didn't focus so much on women in business and youth in business and green and so on in the first few weeks of the COVID response, because we knew that we would make the effort, and in fact, it rebounded quite nicely in the following year. So that's the kind of trade-off you need to be able to make, because ultimately economic development is not a straight line. Okay, it goes up and down, and but what matters is not every step you make is 100 steps. How much of the way you've gone. So when you turn around after a year, have you made progress or not? And I think in that case we can be confident that we have made progress every time I've seen it.
Looking at the long-term big picture rather than just the short-term one day. And we have a question from our folks joining from Ukraine. Did you have to change your credit standards during the war, when the war started?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, of course, we have done a lot of job to revise our lending rules, to revise our models, to revise our policies. And we, first of all, we started to analyze the geographical location, because this is a key risk when the country is in the war, where the customer is located. We developed our heat map and adjusted this heat map on a weekly basis to understand where our client is located. What is interesting to mention that we developed special solution to understand where our retail clients are located. Because if for business it is more or less understandable, it is not movable much. However, for private individuals, in the period of war, in the period when the people were millions on the roads trying to find the safety location, we needed to understand where our people are located. And we developed, as I mentioned, digital solution to follow and to determine the location of our people and determine the rules how to evaluate the information that we receive. We calibrated our models to meet the current economic conditions. We introduced several new indicators of potential early warning. We developed the new rating system for the industry and developed specific credit rules for different industries. So we had the industries where we prefer to work with, like very important for the country, like food processing, agriculture, transportation, etc. And there were one set of rules for other industries where we consider more risky or even no-go industries. We had different range of rules. So all this together helped us to maintain portfolio quality. And I cannot say not to compromise. Of course, we compromised. However, to get rather decent quality of the portfolio. Just few figures. We started the war with the NPL level of 3.8%, and now we have around 10%. And as it was mentioned already, the losses that we had, it was caused not by the economical condition of the companies or of the business. It was due to the fact of occupation or destroy of the business facilities. So all these things really helped to maintain the quality of the portfolio.
Thank you, Larissa. And a final question for David, Dimitro, and Beryl. Very quickly, what was a lesson learned by your institutions during times of crises? David, we'll start with you.
The main lesson I told already, but I want to continue what we were just listening from Ukraine in part regarding the risk system. Did we adjust or not? We also adjust. That is a very important, I think, step. We had this refugee crisis last year from Nagorno-Karabakh, and definitely when you start banking those people, you cannot address them with the same risk, I don't know, systems, setups, scoring, whatever you name it, to that type of an audience, because it's a completely different situation and completely different profile of your customer. For that particular case, for example, we put aside our standard scoring systems and created a new one. And the new one was, since this was refugees, was based on the following. This person who is applying, he intends to stay in Armenia, find a job, continue to work, build up his family, well-being, and so on, or not. That was the main set of factors that we developed in order to assess if we are going to provide a loan or not. So completely new system. And the final lesson, of course, for us is the following. During this type of crises, the solutions are unorthodox.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, in today's world, we are, as societies exposed to huge vulnerabilities, as we are talking a couple of those here. So we call this situation, it's polycrisis. Where risks are now very much interconnected and happen at the same time. And for that, we need really, holistic solutions. We are talking about digital transformation. Global warming, geopolitical fractures are all combining to create a permanent process of crisis, to be honest with you. In our economies and in our societies. So the concept of risk is taking a brand new dimension. We have talking about cybersecurity risk, AI, big data, and etc. is even creating risks. But so be it a corporate or an FI, you only don't need to have good financial standing, but you also should be having a good operational resilience to deal with these challenges and develop flexibility. For example, we believe we are trying to make it better, our operational resilience as much as we can, and make it flexible as much as possible. For example, out of the, we are just trying to think out of the box. A couple of things that we are going to bring after this earthquake disaster is that we are planning to set up voluntary search and rescue teams located in Istanbul and Ankara, totally by our employees. We are determining branches in Istanbul mainly because the next thing, I'm touching the wood right now, but Istanbul earthquake, is expected and everything is located in Istanbul as far as Turkey is concerned. This big portion of the GDP. We are now just having our shelter branches. Actually, we started to store equipment, material that would be needed in emergency situations. I will not just give details on the business impact analysis. We are having, all of our bank processes we are going through those RTOs, recovery time objectives, recovery point objectives. So how much data loss I can endure, how much time loss I can endure if a process stops. So that is, it is developing each and every day. On the IT systems, we have data systems in Ankara as well, other than Istanbul. And also, I should say that we have robust security measures to protect our systems and data from unauthorized access. This is the big things that banks need to work on. And one of the things, kind of innovative, I should say, we are building a mini headquarters in Ankara. So other than Istanbul, and this is not a backup thing, our IT people don't like me saying backup because backup means it starts when here Istanbul stops. So it is going to work at the same time live. They are requiring each and every staff from our departments, so that they are, as I said, building a mini headquarter, so that whatever happens to Istanbul, so it will continue to work and serve our customers. So these are all these bank's efforts to enhance operational continuity towards a safer, more secure and prosperous future, I should say.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for participation. And one last thing, I just want to confirm Francis saying, as far as Turkey is concerned, EBRD in pandemic and plus in the earthquake, they were the first IFI coming to us saying that I want to help, actually. And they really did it in a very nice way and in a very quick way. As Denizbank, we got $330 million loans from, other than EBRD, from a couple of IFIs, but EBRD, we are the first bank that EBRD utilized a loan in Turkey back in 2009 when they opened the offices. We are very much thankful for their support, especially in these type of emergency situations.
Thank you. What a great note to wrap on. And we can see everyone in this room is making a difference in their own ways as well. I think we could have had this panel last all day. We have so much to talk about. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for our panelists for their thought leadership. Thank you to the guests for your thoughtful questions. Thank you to the High Impact team for your production work. And thank you to the EBRD team. Enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties as well.